Hello there, this is Heirs to the Kingdom channel, and in today's lesson we're doing chapters 11 and 12 in the book of 1Chronicles. If you're new to this, it's the Bible study channel going through the King James Bible, not skipping anything as Scripture's command. So if you would, like, subscribe, and share this content, and let's get started. So last we left off, we've already did genealogies leading up to a certain point, and now we're doing histories of the land, and Saul and his sons have perished. They've died. Saul died and his family was destroyed because of his sins against God. I don't know if he repented beforehand and God still let him into heaven or not. I don't know. It never says. Same thing with King Solomon. He started worshiping false gods up to the day of his death. When you do things like that, you've turned your back against the Lord. If you reject the Lord, he rejects you. Scriptures always say this, Old and New Testament. So let's go and get started here. Chapter 11, verse 1. Then all Israel gathered themselves to David unto Hebron, saying, Behold, we are thy bone and thy flesh. And moreover, in time past, even when Saul was king, thou wast he that leddest out and broughtest in Israel. And the Lord thy God said unto thee, Thou shalt feed my people Israel, and thou shalt be ruler over my people Israel. Therefore came all the elders of Israel to the king of Hebron, and David made a covenant with them in Hebron before the Lord, and they anointed David king over Israel, according to the word of the Lord by Samuel. And David and all Israel went to Jerusalem, which is Jebus, where the Jebusites were, the inhabitants of the land. And the inhabitants of Jebus said to David, Thou shalt not come hither. Nevertheless, David took the castle of Zion, which is the city of David. And David said, Whosoever smiteth the Jebusites first shall be chief and captain. So Joab, the son of Zeruiah, that's all. Oh, there's another one of his names. Zeruiah. I had to pause and say the name a few times to be able to say it faster. Zeruiah went first up and was chief. So now you know the city of David is actually the castle of Mount Zion. So we know more. This says so anyways. Zion is God's mountain. Zion is the place that will be renamed Beulah according to the book of Revelation. So King David always had a heart for the Lord. He messed up, he sinned, as we all do from time to time. But his heart was always wanting to follow the Lord. He always desired to please the Lord and follow the Lord and do what was right in the eyes of God, not in his own eyes. So when all the other scripture says in the city of David, now we know where that is. So when we go back and reread the Bible again after this, when it keeps talking about the city of David, we know it's the castle area on, of Zion. Anyways, let's continue on here. Verse 7. And David dwelt in the castle. Therefore they called it the city of David. And he built the city round about, even from Millo round about, and Joab repaired the rest of the city. So David waxed greater and greater, for the Lord of hosts was with him. These also are the chief of the mighty men whom David had, who strengthened themselves with him in his kingdom, and with all Israel, to make him king, according to the word of the Lord concerning Israel. And this is the number of the mighty men whom David had, Jashobeam and Hachmonite, the chief of the captains. He lifted up his spear against 300 slain by him at one time. And after him was Eleazar, the son of Dodo, the Ahohite, who was one of the three mighties. He was with David at Pas-dammim, and there the Philistines were gathered together to battle, where was a parcel of ground full of barley, and the people fled from before the Philistines. And they set themselves in the midst of that parcel and delivered it and slew the Philistines, and the Lord saved them by a great deliverance. Now 3 of the 30 captains went down to the rock to David into the cave of Adullam, and the host of the Philistines encamped in the valley of Rephaim. And David was then in the hold, and the Philistines' garrison was then at Bethlehem. And David lodged and said, "Oh, that one would give me drink of the water of the well of Bethlehem, that is at the gate." And 3 brake through the host of the Philistines and drew water out of the well of Bethlehem that was by the gate, and took it and brought it to David. But David would not drink of it, but poured it out to the Lord. So David didn't waste it. He just gave it to the Lord. So it was like a sacrifice to the Lord. But this is how much David was loved, about how much he followed the Lord, and the Lord was blessing him, that these 3 would go through an entire army to get something for him. But also David would have known for 3 to have done this and came back, that they had to have been blessed by the Lord and protected by the Lord in their travels, so he gave the water to the Lord. More than likely that's why it was, because he said he poured it out to the Lord. David always remembered the blessings of the Lord. Verse 19, and said, "My God forbid it me that I should do this thing. Shall I drink the blood of these men that have put their lives in jeopardy? For with the jeopardy of their lives they brought it. Therefore he would not drink it. These things did these 3 mightiest." And Abishai, the brother of Joab, he was chief of the 3, for lifting up his spear against 300. He slew them and had a name among the 3. Of the 3 he was more honorable than the 2, for he was their captain. Howbeit he attained not to the first 3. Benaiah, the son of Jehoiada, the son of a valiant man of Kabzeel, who had done many acts, he slew 2 lion-like men of Moab. Also he went down and slew a lion in a pit in a snowy day. And he slew an Egyptian, a man of great stature, 5 cubits high, and in the Egyptian's hand was a spear like a weaver's beam. And he went down to him with a staff, and plucked the spear out of the Egyptian's hand, and slew him with his own spear. These things did Benaiah the son of Jehoiada, and had the name among the 3 mightiest. Behold, he was honorable among the 30, but obtained not to the first 3. And David set him over his guard. Also the valiant men of the armies were Asahel, the brother of Joab, Elhanan, the son of Dodo of Bethlehem, Shemoth the Hararite, Helez the Pelonite, Ira the son of Ikish, the Tekoite, Abiezer the Antothite, Shabbakai the Hushathite, Eli the Ahoite, Merari the Netophathite, Heled the son of Baanah the Netophathite. I think it might be pronounced Netophathite, but yeah, it should be an A in there if it's Netophathite. I'll try to remember that next time. Verse 21. Ithai, the son of, I know it's Ithai, the son of Ribai of Gibeah, that pertained to the children of Benjamin, Benaiah the Pirathonite, Huriah of the brooks of Gaash, Abiel the Arbathite, Asmaveth the Bahuramite, Eliab, trying to get that buh at the end, Eliab the Shelabonite, the sons of Geshem the Gizonite, Jonathan the son of Shaj the Hararite, Ahiam the son of Sakar the Hararite, Eliphel the son of Hefer the Mecherathite, Ahijah the Pelonite, Hezro the Carmelite, Neariah, I don't know why it's so hard for English-speaking people to say some of these names. I'm just going to say Nearai. Forget that AI part. Anyways, the son of Ebazai. Yeah, we're just going to say the I part. Forget about the A silent from now on, I guess. Verse 38. Joel, the brother of Nathan, Mibhar, the son of Nagai, Zalek, the Ammonite, Naharai, the Berothite, the armor-bearer of Joab, the son of Zariah, Ira, the Ithrite, Gareb, the Ithrite, Uriah, the Hittite, Zabad, the son of Eli, yeah, I'm going to A silent, Eli, Adina, the son of Shiza. I used to live in Germany. That's that word means something else in German. Continue on. The Reubenite, a captain of the Reubenites, and 30 with him. Hanan, the son of Maacah, and Jehoshaphat the Mithnite. Uzziah, the Ashtarothite, Shema, and Jehiel, the sons of Hotham, the Aroerite, Jediel, the son of Shimri, and Joha, his brother, the Tizite. Eliel, the Maavite, and Jerubai, and Joshaviah, the sons of Elnaam, and Ithma, the Moabite. Eliel and Obed and Jaziel, the Mesobite. Yeah, let's go with that one. Mesobite. Sounds easier, a lot easier to say. Let's continue on now, chapter 12. Now these are they that came to David to Ziklag while he yet kept himself close because of Saul, the son of Kish. And they were among the mighty men, helpers of the war. They were armed with bows and could use both the right hand and the left in hurling stones and shooting arrows out of a bow, even of Saul's brethren of Benjamin. The chief was Ahiezer, then Joash, the sons of Shema, the Gibeathite, and Jeziel, and Pelet, the sons of Asmaveth, and Barakah, and Jehu, the Antothite, and Ishmael, the Gibeonite, a mighty man among the 30. And over the 30, and Jeremiah, and Jehaziel, and Johanan, and Jozabad, the Gederathite. Eluzai, and Jeremoth, and Biliah, and Shemariah, and Shephatiah, the Huraphite, Elkanah, and Josiah, and Azareel, and Jozer, and Jashobeam, the Korhites, and Jola, and Zebediah, the sons of Jeroam of Gedor. And the Gadites there separated themselves unto David into the hold to the wilderness men of might, and men of war fit for the battle, that could handle shield and buckler, whose faces were like the faces of lions, and were as swift as the roes upon the mountains. Ezer the first, Obadiah the second, Eliab the third, Mishmannah the fourth, Jeremiah the fifth, Attai the sixth, Eliel the seventh, Johanan the eighth, Elzabad the ninth, Jeremiah the 10th, Macbannai the 11th. These were the sons of Gad, captains of the host, one of the least over 100, and the greatest over 1,000. These are they that went over Jordan in the first month, when it had overflown all his banks. And they put to flight all them of the valleys, both toward the east and toward the west. And there came of the children of Benjamin and Judah to the hold unto David. And David went out to meet them, and answered and said unto them, If ye be come peaceably unto me to help me, mine heart shall be knit unto you. But if ye be come to betray me to mine enemies, seeing there is no wrong in mine hands, the God of our fathers look thereon and rebuke it. So if those that don't remember, rebuke is like does not approve or rejects, stuff of that nature. Has a multiple meanings depending upon the sentence that it's used in. That's why it's like when somebody that's calling themselves a member of a church and they're doing sinful stuff, you're supposed to rebuke them. You're supposed to say God does not approve. He rejects that. If they get angry about it, then you know where their heart lies. Because when you rebuke them and it says, oh, really? And you show, you're able to show them in Scripture or this, that, and the other about it saying so, they're supposed to be glad you told them, because a Christian never wants to offend the Lord. But let's continue on here, 18. Then the Spirit came upon Amaziah, who was chief of the captains, and he said, Thine are we, David, and on thy side, thou son of Jesse, peace. Peace be unto thee, and peace be to thine helpers. For thy God helpeth thee. Then David receiveth them, and made them captains of the band. That's what's like, they used to call, bands we use today have musical instruments. There's also, the band of brothers, this, that, and it's a group of people used for a task. They're all there for the same reason. It ain't just a mob or this, that, and the other, a bunch of people there that's, whatever for themselves. They are together to be led by the leader. But we primarily only use the word band now to, for music purposes, not really for, soldiers and stuff. But we do have the miniseries Band of Brothers, but now you understand it more. These people were loyal to each other for one cause, and same thing. Anyways, 19. And there fell some of Manasseh to David, when he came with the Philistines against Saul to battle. But they helped them not, for the lords of the Philistines upon advisement sent him away, saying, He will fall to his master Saul, to the jeopardy of our heads. As he went to Ziklag, there fell to him of Manasseh Adnah and Jozabad and Jediel and Michael and Jozabad and Elihu and Zilthai, captains of the thousands that were of Manasseh. Now remember, David went and actually served the Philistines. He went to the enemy to get away from Saul. And his people went with him, because they were wanted men by Saul, calling them traitors. But then, they didn't think David and his men would be useful in fighting against the Israelites at that time because of loyalty reasons. because I know David and his men are also Israelites. Even though they are hated by the king, doesn't mean that they still won't turn and fight with the Israelites if put in that position. But anyways, verse 21. And they helped David against the band of the rovers, for they were all mighty men of valor and were captains in the host. Now, while David was told to stay, people came and, took his wives, took the other men's wives and children, this, that, and the other, while the Philistines were away, and they were coming back, and then they heard of this, so they went and got everything back that the invaders took. So it was a blessing in disguise that David and his men were sent back, because, what was happening, behind them, behind their backs while they were gone. There's a very important reason why a military never leaves completely. Part of them go and do things while part of them stay, unless they're being overran. Totally different scenario then, but you always leave people in the rear areas to protect the rear. That way you have a rear to go back to. It's hard lessons learned in battle and from history books and everything else, talking about, okay, well, they went and did this, and then when they came back to their flocks and herds, they were all gone, because while they were away, someone came up behind, the enemy circled around them, took all their provisions, and then they're surrounded and then defeated because they had nowhere to go to, and eventually would run out of food and get weak. And anyway, you get the idea. Anyways, 22. For at that time, day by day, there came to David to help him, until it was a great host, like the host of God. And these are the numbers of the bands that were ready armed to the war, and came to David to Hebron to turn the kingdom of Saul to him, according to the word of the Lord. The children of Judah that bare shield and spear were 6,800 ready armed to the war. Of the children of Simeon, mighty men of valor for the war, 7,100. Of the children of Levi, 4,600. So even though the Levites were over the temple, this, that, and the other stuff, they also had men that went to war. Because everybody knows, especially in these times, that you need to be ready to fight, especially if you want to keep freedom. And so, yeah, this is the time. Remember, this is Cliff Notes to actually kind of what happened. Because as David was being told to be, was going to be king, other people put someone else into the king's position other than David. And the people says, no, it's supposed to go to David. God already said so. Samuel already said so. The prophet, the great prophet, before he died, already said this. And the people wanted to follow the Lord, not themselves. Let's continue on 27. And Jehoiada was the leader of the Aaronites, and with him were 3,700. And Zadok, a young man, mighty of valor, and of his father's house 22 captains. And of the children of Benjamin, the kindred of Saul, 3,000, for hitherto the greatest part of them that had kept the ward of the house of Saul. And of the children of Ephraim, 20,800 mighty men of valor, famous throughout the house of their fathers. And of the half tribe of Manasseh, 18,000, which were expressed by name to come and make David king. David was king in Judah first. The land was already divided at that time. You had Judah and Israel. So David was king there for 7 years before he became king over all the land. That means all of Israel, Judah included. Now they're separated again while we're reading this. So Judah and Israel's kind of two separate lands, but of the same people. Anyways. Let's continue on 32. And of the children of Issachar, which were men that had understanding of the times, to know what Israel ought to do, the heads of them were 200, and all their brethren were at their commandment. Of Zebulun, such as went forth to battle, expert in war, with all instruments of war, 50,000, which could keep rank. They were not of double heart. Now, double heart means they had loyalty to one and one only. They didn't have, their heart was pure. It ain't like, the hypocrites of the day where they want to go to heaven, but they still follow the world. Their heart's split. Their loyalties are not with God by itself. It's kind of what it's saying here. Verse 34. And of Naphtali 1,000 captains, and with them, with shield and spear, 30 and 7,000. And of the Danites, expert in war, 20 and 8,600. And of Asher, such as went forth to battle, expert in war, 40,000. And on the other side of Jordan, of the Reubenites and the Gadites, and of the half tribe of Manasseh, with all manner of instruments of war for the battle, 120,000. Only thing I heard when I said the Gadites was thinking Australian. G'day, mate. G'day. Gadites. Gadites. I don't know why that hit in my head, and that just made me chuckle on the inside. And the Gadites. Yeah. I love the movie Crocodile Dundee's 1 and 2, but third one not that good. Yeah, it's always going to be Australia's always going to have a soft spot in my heart just for that alone. Paul Hogan. Rest in peace. 38. All these men of war that could keep rank come with a perfect heart to Hebron to make David king over all Israel, and all the rest also of Israel were of one heart to make David king. And there they were with David 3 days, eating and drinking, for their brethren had prepared for them. Moreover, they that were 9 men, even unto Issachar and Zebulun and Naphtali, brought bread on asses, and on camels, and on mules, and on oxen, and meat, meal, cakes of figs, and bunches of raisins, and wine, and oil, and oxen, and sheep abundantly, for there was joy in Israel. And that's the end of this lesson today. Yeah, so raisins have been around for a very long time. The only thing a raisin is a dehydrated grape. It's put in a special environment stuff to absorb the moisture out without destroying it. Why is this very important to have? Because raisins are super healthy. Just like potatoes, they have a lot of iron in them, so it helps keep your blood proper as well. They're very healthy for you to eat. Whether they're full grapes or raisins, they have a lot of the same benefits. And that's why now in the grocery stores and this, that, and the other, these things are super expensive. Why? Because they're healthy and good for you. They used to be a snack. When I was growing up, you had boxes of raisins. You got them in your MREs. At school, they had them, this, that, and the other. They were just everywhere. They were super affordable. They're normally the purple grapes, not the white grapes made in the... Now, you will find them too. Normally, you found them mixed in sometimes, having white grapes mixed in with the purple grapes. Or red grapes, whatever. We have red, purple, and green are the primary grapes I know of. But yeah, anyways, raisins are very good for you. They're also very filling because once you take something dehydrated, when it goes to your stomach, it rehydrates. It uses the moisture in your stomach and swells. So it's quite filling at the same time. I said we used to get the little boxes of them all the time. Sun-kissed raisins. And it's like, they were iconic in America, and now it's like you don't see them at all. They're super expensive, and you can still buy them, but yeah, it's just most people don't anymore because of the cost. I don't know. Maybe I'll start buying them again just to have them. Okay, I probably will. That would be a good snack to keep around. Anyways, that's the end of this lesson today. We're recapping of what we've already read. Like I said, this is like the cliff notes of everything that's happened. But some things are in here that wasn't in the actual story, with all the certain types of names and all the, it's got more details about certain things that are not in the big story. And the big story actually had more details of the whole picture. So this is why it's important to read all of Scripture, because now you can take one part and put it with the other part, and so now you have details of the cliff notes with the main story, and you put them together, then you have the whole thing. And that's why we read Scripture from Genesis to Revelation. We read it all. We don't skip none of it, because there's lessons in there, there's details in there, everything else we need to know. Old Testament is not dead. Only part of it is. And Jesus already said which parts he changed. I went over this numerous times. So don't forget to pray. What do you pray for? Everybody, everything, everywhere. All nations, all people, all situations. All you gotta do is sit and think. Watch the news if you want to pray for something. There you go. Pray the news isn't lying to you. Pray that your heart knows the difference between the hypocrites and the godly people. Pray for yourself, others, lost, found. People that need prayer the most is people who are lost and think they're found. Those are the hardest people to reach, because they don't want to talk to you. They know it all already, and it's like those are the hard. It's like somebody's the whole thing is if you got a person you're trying to teach and they say I know, eventually you just shut up. You quit talking to them, and they're like, hey, why don't you give me advice? They're like, well, you know everything already. You keep saying I know. It's like you're not being quiet and learning. You're too busy talking. You can only teach somebody who wants to learn. And that's why we need to also get through to the people who are under false, thinking that they're saved, when they're truly not, because they never were gifted the Holy Ghost, because they weren't taught about that part. Anyways, always something to pray for and people to pray for. And never forget to give God all the praise, glory, and worship, and thanks in everything, the good, the bad, the ugly, and the indifferent. But I'm going to end this lesson here today. So until next time, God bless, good day, and goodbye.